Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on a Friday morning. Today is the 27th of August, 2021. My name is Valentine Ohu.
And I am Ayon Myro Essay. Good morning.
On Smooth's Breakfast this morning, inside of Freshly Pressed 981, we'll bring you detailed analysis of the newspaper stories. Joining us for the Feel Good Friday edition of the show, we have Waji Jivono. Good morning, Waji, the corporate MC.
Good morning, Valentine. Good morning, Ayo. Welcome back, Tunde. And good morning, Lagos.
Hello,
Good
Tunde. Good
morning,
morning.
Waji.
Morning, guys. Morning, Waji. Morning, Valentine. Morning, Aya.
Good morning,
Good to see
Tunde.
you.
We certainly missed you. Welcome back.
So did I.
Back in the building.
Yes. All right, join the conversation by sending messages through WhatsApp 0809 444 0981.
All right, we have a number of things to get through today, but you can go onto YouTube to check us out and you can watch live. youtube.com/smooth981fm Lagos, and you can use the chat box to send in your message and we'll read from there. Very quickly, let's go into our very first story. Tunde, I'll start with you. 136 Niger school pupils freed 86 days after abduction, Premium Times report. So we're starting off with some good news. Good news, something might say tinged with some not so good feelings. The 136 abducted pupils of Salihu Tanko Islamia School, Tegina, and Rafi local government area of Niger State have been released. This is after they've been 86 days in captivity. It was said that they were rescued in Benengwari, which shares a boundary with Rafi local government area of Niger State. Please take us through this story, Tunde.
Okay, so the good news part is that they've been released, right?
Yes.
136 days is near or maybe just over a third of an entire year.
Yes.
I can't imagine being in captivity for not talk of 136 days. Now, we're not talking incarceration here where you've done something wrong and you're confined. This is that you have been abducted and held against your will, clearly under horrible circumstances. And again, these are kids, right? Young adults or preteens, some of them teenagers and preteens and younger. So the only feel-good part of this is that they've been released. The rest of it is depressing reading, to be honest. It's a full-fledged industry. We've said this for the longest time. But the indications are like, we no longer even try to pretend ransom.
Yeah.
We don't even, for the optics, we just say, where abducted, we've negotiated their release, so and so amount has been paid.
And five motorcycles.
And five motorcycles. I find that instructive. So it's not like it really is. It's almost like those five motorcycles will be used in other raids.
Yes.
For instance, yeah, they can use the money, the 60 million they've collected to buy motorcycles, but we're even going to that. It's not convenience. Is it bride price? It's not to that level of convenience. What would they ask for next, right?
I think it's also important to note in this article that they've mentioned that they're not sure that all the children are released.
Okay.
So 136 pupils are abducted.
Mm-hmm.
Some there's been a release, but they couldn't ascertain at first time how many children were actually released. Just to mention that.
So let's be clear. Unless these abductors are specialists in child care and which they're not, we know the conditions to be kept. There'll be children there who have all sorts of conditions. There'll be children with health conditions there. There'll be children. It's unimaginable that they would have that unfortunately won't have lost some of them. The trauma, some won't have eaten on their bed. And in those kinds of situations where they probably have to move them around, well, if you fall behind, you're left behind. Or if you fall ill, they're not going to try to care for you. So obviously we're not going to get all the kids back. That's the sad truth, which is it's a sad thing that makes it like we've accepted it. This is life in some parts of Nigeria now, and it's very unfortunate.
Thank you. I think it's that last statement you said that we've accepted it. It's another day, another news, another ransom paid, another terrorist group funded by taxpayers' money in this case because the government is paying and it's our money. So we're almost funding their lifestyle. When will it end? When will we stop taking these kinds of headline stories? And let's move on. We're thankful for their release, for those who have been able to come out of captivity, but we also use this as an opportunity to remember those who are still in captivity. All right, let's move on to our next story, Waji. Troubles ahead. Experts warn as debt servicing gulps 91% of revenue. Punch newspaper. The federal government spent 2.02 trillion naira on debt servicing in the first 6 months of this year. So that means that there's more debt to be serviced before the end of the year that will be reporting, just to give people advance notice. Well, I'd love for you to break this down for us. It's a report in the Punch newspaper.
This is the definition of a banana republic. When you actually begin to break down the absolute absurdity of what this means. Io Valentine, Tunde, when you go back to 1999 when OBJ came into power, this was one of his key mandates to reduce our debt. He actually set up an office for that specific reason, debt management office. And they were very instrumental within a 5-6 year period to significantly reduce the debt by either paying off or getting some kind of debt forgiveness. And we rode that wave for quite a while. Now, when Buhari was campaigning, different campaigns, not even in the 2015 campaign, but prior campaigns, and they asked him how he had planned to raise revenue, to handle certain infrastructure, capital projects, he'd always make reference to going to the Paris Club and the London Club and the World Bank. And it has always been on his agenda. And I don't know why. I've never understood it, but he has always felt that the best way to get to a particular place is to borrow. The problem is, what have we now used that money that we borrowed towards? That's where the issue is. It's literally been going into government expenditure. And as we know, government expenditure, the most expensive line item on there are the salaries and the emoluments and other payments that are due to these individuals that run Nigeria. So, in a sense, we have been borrowing money to continue to fund the livelihoods of these individuals and not putting it towards projects that can actually generate revenue that will now allow you to pay these things back. It is almost nonsensical to the point that it is incomprehensible that we are in this position. And I honestly don't even know where to begin to go from here in explaining how maddening this is. The fact that we are here having this conversation. There isn't a company in the world that I know of that would be in existence if 91% of their revenue went towards servicing debt.
Excellent.
Not one.
Sure.
So I do not understand what Nigeria is doing as a country.
So do you think it's a management problem? I'm glad you draw that parallel with companies and organizations. And when I say a management issue, I'm not just talking about the president, because he has a team of people. We're supposed to have an economic team. We have about three, if I'm correct, three different economic teams headed by the VP, headed by the president himself. And the president came on a mandate. One of his mandates was he was going to sort out the economy. He seemed to be very big on it. And to show his commitment, he put the VP in charge of
to coordinate the economy.
So what really is the challenge? Is that we're under bad management? And,
it goes beyond bad management. It's impunity. And it's there's no consequence management towards anything. On Wednesday, there was a wonderful debate between Cheta and Mr. C. Talking about, should people's children go abroad or not. And some of the points that were made by both is that these things will continue as long as government is attractive. End of story. As long as government remains attractive and the salaries remain what they are, then you will continue to have individuals who literally do not care as to how badly managed this is. Because for them, what's their personal stake? There is no personal stake. I get my money, I do my 4 years, I do my 2 terms, or however long I'm going to be in there, and I come out a USD billionaire and I retire. I go set up my own business and run that business efficiently well, run that business effectively well. Okay? So this has nothing to do with capacity of bad management. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's about the impunity, knowing and nothing is literally going to happen. Nothing. I would do it however I want, get out when I want, get out of my own terms, and then go live my life the rest of my life. I mean, imagine you get into that kind of position. Let's just say you're 40, for whatever reason. You serve 2 terms, you're 48. In today's world, you're still relatively a young man. You could take that capital, start a business, and then literally live the rest of your life. You can build fantastic industries, and you can be good. So the impunity is what causes these issues. It's not about bad management. You can't sit there and say that these guys are incompetent. No, I don't agree. It's the fact that the environment and the culture and the climate of that space is what it is that allows for these things to happen, and they could care less on the long-term consequences.
Excellent, thank you. I had to bring that out because it's important for us to begin to look at the root cause, because that's when we can start to fix these things. We cannot in any way go into the conversation of, okay, how do we then deal with impunity, because that would take on the whole show. But I hope that it would be a conversation starter for a number of people, or something to pick your thinking, start to think about these things and understand why we are where we are.
ITK from Lekki says, if truly our representatives at the Senate, House of Representatives, and other government agencies are working for our interests, they should use their August salaries to call off the doctor strike. Ian says, this morning is for my... Thank you. He said he just can't stand the headline, the stories, the sad stories. Onoche says, we'll be glad to see the panelists who are analyzing. You need to watch on YouTube. So type Smoother from Lagos in the search box, subscribe and watch.
Olasoji says, what you should be asking is that, is it impossible to have a work in Nigeria? These news are heartbreaking, unfortunately so. But we continue to, and the reason why we must do this every day is because we believe that there's hope, and we believe that, or that we have hope that things can change. And so this is one of our ways of ensuring that change, or effecting that change. All right, for Tunde, let's talk about the NBC, the National Broadcasting Commission, queries Channels TV over Autumn's interview. This day newspaper. So the National Broadcasting Commission has queried Channels Television, a popular television in Nigeria, for broadcasting a program on Tuesday that had Governor Samuel Autumn of Benue State as a guest. Yesterday, we had shared a response from the presidency to Samuel Autumn, ending with the fact that the people of Benue State should look at changing him when he comes in 4 years, or in time when when he's running for election again. Now, this time, what's happened is that Channels TV interviewed Autumn on the state of the nation, and he had made a statement. I won't say the statement so that they won't accuse us of also
propagating.
But he said that the president was trying to do something to Nigeria, which they took exception to. Please tell me what you think, especially with the NBC coming under, will I say, is it question, or people are wondering whose side are they on? Are they independent?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So the thing is that actions sort of speak louder than words, and sometimes the presidency kind of makes it easier for some of these allegations and some of these things to be leveled, against him. So when you look at it around, you only need to go to campaign promises, and you go to some of the things that were said, and you go to life under maybe, since 99, for instance. Let's not even not say the immediate past one. Exactly. Since 99 to now. And you look at the simple case of, press freedoms, for instance. Beyond, NBC's questioning or sanctioning of channels around this, there's a long list of, documented, that were just, the press is not as free as it was.
We don't have free press.
All those things, and it's gotten quite worse now, right? All those things are sort of coming together. Autumn has accused the presidency of having a secret agenda. Let's not go into the details so they don't call all of us to Abi, right? But we all know what he's saying, that he has a secret agenda, and he's linking that to how poor a job he's done with security or insecurity, and what he believes is the agenda around the open grazing, policy to drive a, secret agenda. And obviously, naturally, the truth is, Autumn is a colorful character. Yeah, but the truth is, if you kind of stripped down some of the things he was saying and why he was, and how, he was saying them, because obviously how you convey a message is important. How he was saying it and the color and everything was putting around it. You would ask for some of those things. It will resonate. Let me not say you ask for the likes. A lot of it will resonate with the people. I think that's what the presidency and his handlers and everyone around him should sort of look at. If they can't, tell themselves, the reality, and sort of take the pulse from the man on the streets. That really, what is, and across the nation, do you understand? What is your experience and what is it that you feel? Then you will see, we need to realize that we're a multi-ethnic country. So optics are important. The policies that you drive and how things look are important, because unfortunately we have not been able to fuse ourselves into one national identity, so to say, other than things that we carry like the passports, and, there's really nothing
Football.
and football. There's nothing else that really, binds us together with one. So you have these sensibilities are important, right? If a certain section believe that you do things in favor of another, and you're from that section, you just need to balance it. It's one of the issues that we have. I don't like it, to be honest, because it's almost like once the presidency changes, obviously suddenly there are all sorts of issues around that ethnicity of the president. So actually it's not just a reflection on the current and on the president or the current, it's a reflection on us as a nation. We're hamstrung in so many different ways. But the truth is they can also make it better. They can make it better in terms of what they communicate, how they communicate. If you want to drive in new policy, because all of this is centered around the open grazing thing, there's a lot more advocacy, a lot more engagement that needs to happen. There's a lot more that can be done, to make it, accepted, or, easier to accept. And then we say we're a federation anyway, and so people should be able to do what they want in the states. Come on. I mean, what's all this?
Well, it's interesting because the presidency or president just set up a committee to
Last week, yeah.
yes, to look into the same issue of open grazing across states. I would hope that some consultation, some level of
No, but
consultation
that
be
came
carried
up
out.
that they didn't.
Yeah.
If you look
Yeah.
at the
They
makeup
didn't
of the
consult
committee,
anybody. They
it
didn't consult the
didn't
states.
seem like.
So it's always, again, naturally putting the cart before the horse. Unforced errors, shooting yourself in the foot. Let's try and avoid unforced errors, because it's very easy for people to say the things that Autumn says. And guess what? He's just echoing what a lot of people are saying on the streets and what people feel, So how many people do you want to be,
Talking about unity, I just want to remind us again, as we keep doing, we have a national orientation agency who seem to have kept quiet, because this thing you're saying in terms of optics, in terms of bringing people together, might seem like, oh, it's not in the scheme of things, not important, but a lot of things that we see are born from this. If we can work together as one and, just let people feel a sense of pride and unity, it will go a long way.
Solomon from Akoka says on the TV station, an incumbent governor with the benefits of immunity made a statement, and because NBC cannot face him, decided to pick on the low-hanging fruit. Did NBC expect the presenters to hush the governor?
But what they said is that they didn't challenge him enough, but they didn't question what he had said. So in terms of maybe ask him to take it back or
which is a qualitative measure. How do you measure that you didn't challenge him enough? That they didn't strike him, or pour water at him, or turn off his mic?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I guess the off your mic was expected. Well, Kenny Hituge says, good morning. Have we noticed that no TV station has been queried for interviewing Gumi? Austin from Starlight Town says, good morning. It's very unfortunate. Okay, you're going to pick on partisan politics, but I'd rather
All
not.
right. Gosh, okay, so we still have a lot to get through. I'll just go very quickly. YG, organizers suspend Saudi Arabia recruitment as DSS disperses doctors, arrest journalists. The Punch newspaper. I think another
Journalist again.
Yes, another arm of government or arm of agency that needs optics. The optics, really what's it called? Doctor, is it doctor? Yeah, since they're doing doctors here, the DSS. They're in the news for not very good things. So the Department of State Services, they were said to have dispersed medical doctors who stormed the Sheraton hotels in Abuja to take part in the recruitment interview organized by the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Health.
I think what kind of just blows my mind is why these reactions to these things. This recruitment exercise is not new. It's been going on since the 80s. When IBB instituted the structural adjustment program that pretty much sent us into economic turmoil in 1986, ever since then, Nigerian doctors have been fleeing out. The whole campaign in 1989 and 1990 about Andrew checking out was literally about doctors checking out, named after a particular doctor called Dr. Andrew. And that was a fictitious character that was named after. So these recruitment exercises are not new. Saudi Arabia and many countries, the United Kingdom, United States, South Africa, and different parts of the Emirates continue to recruit Nigerian doctors because of the sheer tenacity with which they work. They are excellently trained and they are highly recommended all over the globe. So I don't know why people are all of a sudden shocked and somewhat reacting to the fact that for over 35, almost 40 years, Nigerian doctors have been exiting Nigeria because they just want to get a decent salary to have a living wage. So because now doctors are going on strike and because it's now become a topical issue, you are somewhat now all of a sudden embarrassed. And because you are embarrassed, you decide to use your state security agency, of all people, to disperse the recruitment exercise that has been going on for over 3 decades. That is your reaction and your approach, a very cold, war, um, despotic response
And
It-
arrest journalists.
and arrest
for them-
journalists for what now
for
covering
being
it.
there.
And so here's what I want to understand. If this particular recruitment agency decides to do this virtually, what are you going to do?
How would you? It's because it's public. How
No,
would you
but,
know
but
the
my
underground?
point is, this has been going on even before the advent
I
of
have
the
an answer for
internet.
that.
Oh, ban it?
Ban it.
No, turn off Twitter.
No, but
They've
my
done that
no, but my
already,
point
just
is why, just going back to Tunde's point and the point that you made about optics. I wonder who I really am curious to know who these individuals surround themselves by, because sometimes it's better for you to do nothing than to actually react. Because in doing nothing, at least you've not shown your hand. But by doing something, you show your hand and further question the intellectual horsepower of your capacity.
Talking about intellectual horsepower, if I may, like we don't like to look for solutions, creative solutions. So we're not the only country or the first country to suffer a brain drain, especially
No, of
around
course
doctors.
not.
What have they done? There have been nations that have said and come and said, look, United States or Saudi Arabia, we've noticed that maybe 60% of our medical doctors
like where you're
on
going.
graduation end up in Saudi Arabia. Do you know what? Why don't you come and invest in or fund a school here?
Can I give you an example?
Yeah, where we will create doctors for you.
Can I give you an example of this particular program? There is a triangle exchange program, between the University of Legon in Accra, Cuba, and the University of Illinois Teaching Hospital. Why? Because they noticed that a lot of Ghanaians, same thing, brain drain, were now going to Cuba because Cuba was like, come through, it's free. Nigerian doctors will now, Ghanaian doctors will now go to Cuba, get trained. And what happens, because Cuba has one of the best medical, teaching hospitals on the planet. A lot of people don't know this, but it comes from Cuba, right? University of Illinois recruits directly from Cuba. And because the Ghanaians were always top of the class, they were now going directly from Cuba to University of Illinois. So the Ghanaian government, to Tunde's point, was like, hold on a second, why are all these people ending up here? Let's track where they're going. So they now work directly with the Cuban government to invest in the resources within Accra and those particular universities to now ensure that you have some kind of exchange program that says, okay, fine, since you guys are going to go away anyway, how about we sponsor you? How about we pay for certain things on the premise that you at least come back and do your housemanship, you come back and do something, you come back and do a rotation, so at least we keep this system going and you keep that rotation going. But because we do not want to sit down and think.
Our only response is force.
Yes.
We don't want to.
We don't want to sit down and engage.
The
We just
example
want to
solution
show
is
force.
Philippines.
Want to flog you down and tell you to sit where you are because that's just who we are.
We don't want to do that.
And you wonder why. You know what?
It goes back to that competency. People on competency.
Am I from Makoka? I'm enjoying the analysis this morning. Am I from Makoka says intellectual horsepower by Friday is made. The government is many things, but not sophisticated. Schoolboys error. Ear to ear. All right, this one here. What's your name? Please add your name to your message.
Jay
So
from
we can
Lekki
take it. Thank you.
saying what the governor said is the mind of every common man on the street at the moment. Did you see the force? In the center interview, I put it to you that some governors, some ministers, some senators are the ones sponsoring. Now, that's what the Commodore had said. It's now a business for them, and they don't care about the bloodshed as long as their business is making profits. God help us.
Speaking of which, 70% of Nigerian youths may soon become ex-convicts, and that's a warning from the Convict and Financial Crimes Commission. Remember that I think in a few hours, like a couple of hours ago, 48 hours precisely, the FCC chairman had warned that, or rather advised banks to start reporting some transactions, some funds being transferred to certain accounts. But anyway, he's saying now that extending that warning, saying that 70% of youth are getting money through illicit transactions, or rather through cybercrime, and this has led to the use and sales of hard drugs and drug abuse, saying all hands must be on deck to save this situation. Tule, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll quick to save us time. Other than the link between, obviously, illicit funds, drugs, it's an ecosystem, right? Other than that, I believe, and this is my view again about optics, that rhetoric like this is dangerous. Do you know what 70% of Nigerian youth is? 70%. Do these guys even do they consider the things they say? 70%. It's dangerous, and it explains how this as criminals, then it's a problem. If he had any data, he would realize that it is nowhere near 70%. it is probably nowhere even near 10%, right?
Oh, you have
But
to
it's
forgive me.
it's
When
almost
I
like
read the headline, I saw, it's story number 5, then the points, 7-0. So I thought it was
No, number 5.
5.7.
5.7.
No, I know. So that's why I had to go back. So
yeah.
to your point,
it's-
Tunde, yeah.
It's ridiculous. What he, let's say maybe what he meant, let's help him. That 70% of criminal cases and or financial crime cases that they encounter, right, have to do with cybercrime.
I guess that's what he meant to say.
Let's hope, but that's not what he said.
Because if you put that side by side, going with your conversation, if you put that percentage, it's not far away from 65% of unemployed youth
Yes.
in Nigeria, or
Yes.
65% of youth
Yes.
being unemployed.
Yes. So
So
now,
he's saying all unemployed youth
Yes.
going into cybercrime, that's the only
That's
job
the point. That's
opportunity
the point,
that's
Tunde,
available.
but that's the point Tunde is
that's the
making.
next. That's where I was going.
That's where
That's
Tunde's
now
going.
where he should go and what he should say. Instead of saying 70% are potential criminals, he said that if we are not careful, we have a 65% to 70% on youth unemployment rate. These guys are not being engaged properly. Many of them, are stuck in the school systems, can't get jobs when they come out. That there is a potential for them to end up in crime. I worry about this kind of statement in inductions, and how they train their guys, because it is dangerous.
But let's also examine the fact that this was said as part of an event that was going on. Actually, 3 or 2 people were convicted. They pleaded guilty in Benin. They were arrested, or rather in Kogi State and Kwara State as well. They were arrested in engaging, in cybercrime as well, and they received these convictions. But let's move on, please, to another story. Nigerian Aviation College, not for the poor, representative panel said, as reported by the Premium Times, it said the fee that they've been paying, school fees of 7.5 billion naira per student since 2007 is not enough, and they need to increase it to at least 14 million.
It's the truth is, the reps of this panel is uncovering what has been the reality for the longest time. The aviation college, or the aviation, the Air Force, or training Air Force personnel has always traditionally been more expensive than any other. It's more expensive to train a pilot than it is to train infantry. You need boots, and you need drills and marching, whatever it is. I know I simplified, but that's the truth. So therefore, to go through aviation college will cost a lot more. The question I think here is, how much of that cost is borne by people who are aspiring to be, part of the that aspire to fly, or and aspire to be, in the Air Force, or go through aviation college anyway. Sorry, to become, pilots, and how integral or important is it to us, and therefore, in which ways should the government or can the government subsidize? I think that should be the conversation. But the truth is that it really is not, it's not for the, it's not for the, it never has been. The question we should ask is, should it, even really, should it be? I think maybe we also get sentimental about certain things. To me, everything all comes down to national priorities and what our priorities are. Do you understand?
We could also say maybe the exchange rate has affected some payment for some services as part of the training process. Who knows?
Naturally.
Waji, very quick thoughts on this one. Flood alert. Lagos assures residents of preparedness, saying that the rivers that has been predicted by the meteorological organization to overflow its banks is not going to affect Lagos because they're ready. We are ready. Commissioner of Environment.
Yeah, stop putting I was going to say band-aids. Stop putting plaster over gunshot wounds, please. All right, because if you're going to take care of the drainages, you need to do a lot of infrastructure work, which we're seeing small pockets of, but not a lot. You need to do a lot in order for you to now curtail this flooding issue. So let's stop making these statements once again about being ready when we know you're not.
I think the best way to get ready is just ensure that we
just stop making statements. Stop making statements.
Just for us to take responsibility, really.
No, Valentine. Even more baselines. Just stop talking.
Okay.
Just get to work. Really. Okay.
Waji has said it.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Waji.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Tunde. Thank you so very much. And thanks to all our listeners. We see the comments. Unfortunately, because of our time, we cannot take all of them. However, we're very grateful for your engagement, and we do feel your passion. Thank you.
Union Bank, your simplest, smart.
Country of clowns.